When people imagine life in France, they often picture something expensive, like long lunches, beautiful holidays, wines, cafes, markets. And yes, some things here can be expensive. And I have always been conscious of how we spend, and that didn't change when we moved to France. But what surprised me the most is that many of our everyday expenses slowly disappeared since we moved here, without us planning it. Not because suddenly we became very frugal or because we started to follow a strict budget, but because daily life here is structured differently. So today I want to share a few of those things we don't really spend money on anymore since we moved to France. But this is not an advice or a list of money saving tips. These are just observations from our own life. Some of these changes were conscious. Some happened without us even noticing it, and some came simply from unavailability. But what also surprised me, it wasn't that we stopped spending, it was how little we missed it. Bonjour, and welcome back to Simple Life in the South of France. If you are new here, I'm Gabi, and I've been living in the Languedoc region of France just over a year now. I moved here with my husband, 2 little kiddies, and my doggy. And today's video is not about budgeting or trying to save money on purpose. However, spending less is never a bad thing. But it's more about how everyday life here seems to gently reduce the need to spend, especially once you settled into a new routine. Of course, this is just our own experience. France is very diverse, and lives look very different in Paris, in villages, in coastal towns, or in inland. But these are the things that changed for us. One of the biggest differences I noticed is how much less we spend on entertainment for ourselves. When we lived in London, there was often this feeling that you needed to do something in your free time. Go out, book something, buy tickets, meet somewhere specific. Cinema trips, events, paid experiences, it all added up very quickly, even when it was meant to be just a simple evening. Here, where we live in France, life feels much less centered around paid entertainment. A lot of time is spent outside, and it doesn't cost you anything. Going for a walk, spending time by the river or by the sea, meeting friends in the village square, attending local events or small festivals that are often free. There is less pressure to turn free time into an activity, and we don't feel like we constantly need to plan or spend money to turn a day or an evening feel meaningful. Being outside, sitting somewhere and talking, that already feels like enough. And without really deciding to change anything, that naturally reduced how much we spend on entertainment. We eat out sometimes, and we enjoy cafes and love good food, but we spend far less on eating out than before. When we lived in London, ordering takeaway was very normal for us, maybe once or twice every couple of weeks. Takeaway isn't really an option where we live, so without even trying, we save money simply because the option is just not there. We also spend less on coffee. In London, grabbing a coffee on the go was part of daily life. Coffee shops are everywhere. Here, having a coffee feels more like a treat. Something we do when we are out with the kids, sitting down or taking a break. We do spend money on eating out, but we don't do it very often. But instead, we have barbecues at home, which we absolutely love. And when we go out, we enjoy it properly. We sit, we take our time, we don't rush through meals. We hardly ever grab food on the go anymore. When we are tired, we can't default to ordering in, so we make something very simple and quick instead. I feel like we always try to eat quite healthily, but here it happens with less effort. And of course we have treats and croissants sometimes, but most meals are simple, nutritious and shared. This is a big one for us. Before, there was this quiet pressure to constantly provide children with activities, despite our children's very young age. Classes, sessions, paid experiences. It often felt like you were supposed to be filling their time with something structured, something organized, something that looked good or productive. And if you were not doing that, it could feel like you were somehow falling behind. Here, childhood feels much less organized, and honestly, in a really positive way. Children spend a lot of time playing together, often outside. They run around, they watch what others doing, they wait for their turn, they join in when they are ready. A lot of their time is spent simply by being part of everyday life, rather than being moved from one activity to the next. There are activities for children here, and I still think those are important. But school, outdoor play, community spaces, or time spent with family already provide so much stimulation and learning without us needing to add too much more on top. We do have some activities organized for our children, but not too many. Most of their time is spent in parks, playgrounds, village spaces, or just being around other people. They see adults talking, cooking, fixing things, sitting together. They learn by observing and by being included, not just by being entertained. And because of that, we don't spend much on organized activities, and we don't feel guilty about that. We are not constantly looking for the next class to sign up for or the next experience to book. There is less comparison with what other children are doing, less pressure to keep up, and that creates more space for free play, for boredom, for creativity, and for children to simply be children. Another quiet change for us has been clothes. We buy fewer clothes now, both for us and for our children. And last year I also started to buy more second-hand after discovering with greniers. If you are curious about those, I talk about them in another video. I will put the link in the description below if you want to watch that. I genuinely enjoy the experience. Walking around, enjoying the atmosphere, browsing slowly, finding something great unexpectedly. And when I find something we actually need or something really nice, it feels much more satisfying than buying something new quickly or without much thought. Living in a smaller place has also changed how we consume because we are simply exposed to fewer shops. There is less window shopping, less temptation, fewer moments of, oh, I might as well buy this. You don't walk past rows of displays every day telling you that you need something new or that what you already have isn't enough. Over time, that changes not just what you buy, but how often you think about buying. And these days, we wear things longer and we are more conscious about what earns a place in our home. And when you stop buying as much, you also stop thinking about buying as much. And that mental space is something I really didn't expect, and it's been surprisingly freeing. Another area we noticed a big change is socializing and celebrating. Social life here doesn't seem to revolve around spending money the same way as it did before. People meet at home a lot. Barbecues are very common, even outside the summer months. Someone cooks, everyone brings something small, people sit around the table for hours. Children play nearby, move in and out of the group, and are simply part of the evening rather than the focus of a separate activity. There is no sense that you need to impress with your home, your food, or what you are spending. And that takes a lot of pressure out of social life. And because of that, socializing doesn't quietly drain your budget the way it used to. But more importantly, it also feels calmer, more relaxed, less performative. And over time, that changes not just how much you spend, but how connected those moments feel. None of this means that life here is cheap, and it definitely doesn't mean that France is some kind of financial paradise. Being mindful about spending was one of the reasons we chose to move, but wasn't the only one. But what surprised me of how it happened. Everyday life here feels less transactional. There is less pressure, less comparison, and less constant consumption. We didn't move here with the intention of cutting costs in all these areas. But over time we realized we were doing exactly that, simply by living differently. And maybe that surprised me the most. Not what we give up, but what quietly replaced it. If you are thinking about moving abroad, or if you are curious about life in France beyond postcards, I hope this gives you a small, honest glimpse into how everyday life here can change over time. Thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next one. Au revoir!